We are going to start a video series in which we will cover all our major constitutional amendments which have been made by the Parliament since independence. We shall be covering not only the amendments and the changes that they have made in our constitution, but we shall also analyze the reasons as to why the need arose in the first place to make these changes in the constitution. So, what was the context or what were the compulsions as to why the parliament used its powers and made these changes in our constitution? This is how it helps us to remember things better, to remember these changes better. Today, we are going to start with the first Constitutional Amendment Act 1951. Interestingly, this amendment was moved in the parliament, this rather bill was moved in the parliament just after 15 months of coming in force of the constitution. And Pandit Nehru, when he moved the bill, the Constitution Amendment Bill in the parliament, he mentioned that certain circumstances as well as certain judicial orders have become the reason as to why this bill is being introduced in the parliament to amend the constitution. A very interesting aspect of first CAB was that the CAB was introduced in the interim parliament because India's first parliament, according to the first general elections, came into being only in May 1952. So remember that the first constitutional amendment was actually passed by India's interim parliament. This first amendment made the following changes in our constitution. It added Article 15, Clause 4, because initially Article 15 had only three clauses. Article 19, Clause 2 was amended. So please note the difference that Article 19, Clause 2 was already there in the original constitution. But First Amendment only made certain changes. Article 19 was 6 similarly was amended, and Article 31A and Article 31B were added. And in last ninth schedule to the constitution was added. We will look at these changes one by one. Let us first go to Article 15 Clause 4. Article 15 Clause 4 finds its genesis in the state of Madras. So the story goes like this, that the state of Madras reserved a good number of seats in colleges, especially the medical colleges and engineering colleges on the basis of caste. And this reservation of seats in colleges on the basis of caste was justified by the state of Madras on the basis of Article 46 of the Constitution of India. Article 46 comes under Part 4 and is a directive principle of state policy. This article says that the state shall take steps for the welfare and advancement of socially and economically backward classes of citizens. तो मद्रास स्टेट ने अपनी पॉलिसी ऑफ रिजर्वेशन को ये कहकर जस्टिफाई किया कि आर्टिकल 46 में स्टेट को डायरेक्शन दिया गया है कि आप वेलफेयर को आप एडवांसमेंट को प्रमोट करोगे ऑफ द वीकर सेक्शंस ऑफ द सोसाइटी. अगेंस्ट दिस पॉलिसी ऑफ रिजर्वेशन a Brahmin woman approached the Madras High Court, approached the Madras High Court on the ground that the reservation of seats on the basis of caste violates Article 14 and other right to equality given under Part 3, that is Chapter of Fundamental Rights. So the argument of this woman, Brahmin woman, was that this is a violation of right to equality. The Madras High Court ruled in the favor of the petitioner, the Brahmin woman, and held this policy of reservation as null and void. As null and void. Against this verdict of Madras High Court, the state of Madras then approached Supreme Court, and therefore the case came to be known as the State of Madras versus Champakam Dorairajan, 1951. In this case, Supreme Court upheld the verdict given by Madras High Court, although the argument of state was again same, that we are only trying to fulfill our obligation under Article 46. Please focus here, understand that here actually there is a clash between fundamental rights of equality versus the directive principles of state policy. तो स्टेट रिजर्वेशन प्रोवाइड करके वीकर सेक्शंस का वेलफेयर, उनका एडवांसमेंट प्रमोट कर रहा था, लेकिन उसको प्रमोट करने में सर्टेन अदर इंडिविजुअल्स उनके फंडामेंटल राइट्स वायलेट हो रहे थे. सो देयर वाज अ क्लैश बिटवीन द राइट्स, फंडामेंटल राइट्स एंड द डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी. Supreme Court in this case held that whenever there is a clash between fundamental rights and DPSPs, then fundamental rights shall prevail and DPSPs shall run subordinate or they will be inferior to the fundamental rights. And therefore, the policy of reservation was declared as null and void. This is what required the Parliament to add Article 15, Clause 4. This article was added by First Amendment, and the article says that the state is empowered, state is allowed to make certain special provisions, for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes of citizens. And that is how the policy of reservation became constitutionally valid. I hope Article 15 Clause 4 and its rationale, मतलब उसकी वजह कि इस आर्टिकल को क्यों ऐड किया गया, इट इज नाउ क्लियर. लेट अस नाउ मूव टू द नेक्स्ट change made by the First Amendment. The next change was made by the Parliament by First Amendment in Article 19 Clause 2, and this article was amended by the Parliament. Now, why this was needed? So, as the story goes, there was a journal which was publishing certain articles, and these articles were critical, or they were criticizing the policies of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was at that time our interim Prime Minister. Now, when this happened, the government of India, it banned the journal. Against this banning of journal, the journal approached Supreme Court on the ground that publishing of articles in journals, giving of speech, publishing of books is a fundamental right under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. And therefore, how can the government ban a journal from publishing the articles? And the case then came to be known as Romesh Thapar versus State of Madras 1950. Supreme Court in this case gave a very wide meaning to the right given under Article 19(1)(a), that is freedom of speech and expression. Supreme Court said that this right of freedom of speech and expression is so vast, is so expansive, that even if an individual uses this right to provoke someone to commit a crime or to commit even a murder, even then the state cannot take away the right under Article 19(1)(a). मतलब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस राइट को इतना बड़ा मीनिंग दिया कि भले ही मैं अपने राइट को यूज करके किसी दूसरे इंसान को प्रोवोक करूं, उसको इंसाइट करूं कोई क्राइम करने के लिए, तब भी स्टेट मुझे इस राइट को एंजॉय करने से नहीं रोक सकता. Now, this was considered as a very wide interpretation of Article 19(1)(a), and Parliament said that even other democratic countries which have written constitutions do not give such a wide freedom of speech and expression. And therefore, Article 19 Clause 2 was added to add certain restrictions or to add certain exceptions to Article 19(1)(a). Remember, Article 19 Clause 2 was already there. वो पहले भी था, और उसमें था क्या? उसमें था restrictions on Article 19(1)(a). तो हमारा जो राइट है 19(1)(a) में, उसके ऊपर जो रिस्ट्रिक्शंस हैं वो दी गई थी 19 Clause 2 में, और फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट से उन रिस्ट्रिक्शंस को थोड़ा सा इंक्रीज कर दिया गया. दे वर इंक्रीज्ड इन नंबर, एंड दिस इज व्हाट चेंज वाज मेड बाय द पार्लियामेंट बाय फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट. Let us move to the next change made by the Parliament by the same First Amendment. We now come to Article 19 Clause 6, which was amended. Again, that means it was already there and the Parliament only made some changes by the First Amendment. Now, Article 19 Clause 6 initially also and now also contains restrictions on our right given to us under Article 19(1)(g). And this article gives us a right or freedom of trade, commerce, and any kind of occupation. This is a well-known fact that the Indian government adopted socialist policies immediately after independence, and the Indian state, the Indian government, played a major role in the Indian economy. As a model came to be known as commanding heights of economy. And the government of India even excluded the private sectors to participate in certain sectors of the economy. And therefore, the argument which was given by these people is that exclusion of the private sector or nationalization of certain industries is a violation of आर्टिकल 19(1)(g). तो अगर मैं एक कैपिटलिस्ट हूँ, मैं एक बिजनेसमैन हूँ, मुझे कोई बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना है, लेकिन अगर स्टेट की जो पॉलिसीज़ हैं मुझे वो बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने की परमिशन नहीं देती हैं, तो एक तरह से मेरा आर्टिकल 19(1)(g) फ्रीडम ऑफ ट्रेड, कॉमर्स और ऑक्यूपेशन वायलेट होता है. And therefore, to make it possible, the Parliament had to amend Article 19 Clause 6. तो पार्लियामेंट ने 19 क्लॉज 6 को अमेंड करके आर्टिकल 19(1)(g) जो एक फंडामेंटल राइट है उसके ऊपर कुछ रिस्ट्रिक्शंस ऐड कर दी. एंड द पार्लियामेंट सेड दैट द गवर्नमेंट इज एंटाइटल्ड टू completely or partially exclude certain sectors from private players, which means government can completely or partially control certain sectors of the economy in the public interest. In public interest. And this ground was added in Article 19 Clause 6 by the First Amendment. Coming to the next change that the Parliament made by First Amendment. And this was actually a major change made by the Parliament. The Parliament added two new articles, Article 31A and Article 31B. Now, both of these two articles were added as exceptions to Article 31, which contains right to property. Right to property. Again, I assume that all of you know that after independence, land reforms was one of the major objectives of Indian state, because land is one resource which is very scarce for any country. It is one resource that cannot be imported. We can import labor, skilled labor, we can import capital, we can import machinery, we can import minerals, we can import oil, but we cannot import land. So land is one resource that has to be used very optimally. But because of the policies of Britishers, the land in India was very, very unequally divided. And a few, you can say, handful of zamindars, landlord, owned massive amounts of land. And that is why land reforms became an utmost priority for the government of India and states. The problem in this policy of land reforms and agrarian reforms was a fundamental right under Article 31, right to property. Now the story started with Bihar. So Bihar Assembly passed the Bihar Land Reforms Act. Land Reforms Act 1950. And this Bihar land reforms placed some restrictions on personal holding of land, and there were provisions for the taking over of land by the state of Bihar. Against this particular act of Bihar Assembly, the zamindars approached Patna High Court. And Patna High Court declared this law of Bihar Assembly as null and void, on the ground that it violates fundamental right under Article 31. Now, when this story started, then the problem in front of the government of India was that if all the high courts in their respective states start declaring the land reforms laws as null and void, then how will the land reforms policy be implemented? And therefore, the parliament felt a need to insert exceptions और restrictions on Article 31. तो राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी तो होगा, लेकिन वो एब्सोल्यूट नहीं होगा, उसकी कुछ restrictions होंगी. तो इस ज़रूरत को महसूस करते हुए पार्लियामेंट ने Article 31A and Article 31B को ऐड किया. Now Article 31B is what is more important from exams point of view. Article 31B says that any law that any law which is placed in the ninth schedule of the Constitution, which is placed in the ninth schedule of the Constitution. I hope you understand what are schedules. So we have a Constitution. This Constitution has first the preamble, then we have articles, Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and then we have schedules, Schedule number 1, Schedule number 2. So initially we had 8 schedules, but ninth schedule was added by the same amendment that we are studying today, that is the first amendment. So the Article 31B says any law, किसी भी लॉ को अगर पार्लियामेंट उठाकर इंसर्ट कर देती है इन नाइन्थ शेड्यूल, सो एनी लॉ प्लेस्ड इन नाइन्थ शेड्यूल will not be void, will not be void even if that law violates Article 14 or Article 19 or Article 31. विच मीन्स किसी भी लॉ जो लॉ बनाया जाएगा किसी स्टेट असेंबली के द्वारा टू इम्प्लीमेंट लैंड रिफॉर्म्स, even if that law is violative of right to equality or right to property under Article 19(1)(f, Article 19(1)(f and Article 31, तो वो लॉ नल एंड वॉइड नहीं होगा. इस तरह से जमींदार्स या लैंडलॉर्ड्स कोर्ट नहीं जा पाएंगे ये बोलकर कि लैंड रिफॉर्म्स उनका फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट करता है, एंड दस land reforms will become a reality. So with this idea, these two articles were added in the Constitution. If you have a look at the ninth schedule, please have a look, and this is how the ninth schedule looked like. So it has today a number of laws. If you look at the very first law, and that is Bihar Land Reforms Act. तो एक बार पार्लियामेंट ने इस एक्ट को नाइन्थ शेड्यूल में इंसर्ट कर दिया तो आर्टिकल 31B के हिसाब से even if this law violates the right to property, even then this law will be beyond judicial review, which means इस law का judiciary review नहीं कर पाएगी और इसको null and void या unconstitutional declare नहीं कर पाएगी. That is it for now in this video class. We shall take up the next major amendment of the Constitution in the next class. Take care.